Hey folks, Brennan Dickerson here for birdsfan.com with a little recap of the Eagles offseason so far and a preview of this week's Super Bowl. The offseason has been as most would expect. A few training camp bodies have been signed and a few personnel moves have been made. For the training camp bodies or players signed, the Eagles have signed wide receiver Jordan Norwood, wide receiver Dobson Collin, center A.Q. Shipley, fullback Dwayne Wright, and punter Deron Brooks. The majority of these players will be cut by the end of training camp. They shouldn't be expected to do too much. However, the signing of punter Deron Brooks really intrigues me. He was drafted by the Washington Redskins last season, and he was cut in the middle of the season. From there, he went to the Green Bay Packers practice squad. Now, he's an interesting guy because he could possibly push Savrock to be a more consistent punter or maybe overtake him. He was the Ray Guy Award winner in college as a senior. The Ray Guy Award is given out to the best punter in college. It could turn out to be a very interesting battle to watch in training camp between Savrock and Deron Brooks. I'm looking forward to it. For some reason, punter battles are always entertaining. I don't know why. Now, the personnel moves have been pretty exciting if you ask me. The biggest news was General Manager Tom Heckert moving to Cleveland to take the GM position for the Cleveland Browns. After he signed with the Browns, it seemed only a matter of time before Howie Roseman, his former assistant, was named the Eagles GM. Eventually, 2.5 weeks later, Roseman was officially introduced as the team's GM. I was personally thrilled about this move for one reason. Howie Roseman is pretty much solely responsible for the signing of fullback Leonard Weaver. Weaver was in negotiations with Joe Banner and Tom Heckert, and they fell through. After they fell through, Howie Roseman came in, and he got the deal done. That tells me something very important about him. He's willing to spend the money on quality players. Now, that could obviously translate into willing to spend the money on anyone. I hope it doesn't, and I doubt it does because Joe Banner is still there, and so is Andy Reid, who also has a huge say in what happens. And overall, I really like this move. I think it's going to help the Eagles a lot, and hopefully Howie Roseman drafts defenses far better than Tom Heckert did. Now, as for the coaching changes, the biggest moves were the Eagles letting go of special teams coordinator Ted Dasher and secondary coach Brian Stewart getting the defensive coordinator job at the University of Texas. Congratulations to him. To replace him, the Eagles brought in special teams coordinator Bobby April, formerly of Buffalo, and former head coach of Buffalo, Dick Jauron. Now, while the Bills were terrible, I still really like this move. The reason being, the Bills had excellent special teams in Bob April's tenure there. And when Dick Jauron was there, they had a fantastic secondary. Those are two problem areas for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think them coming in is going to just help out incredibly. Bobby April will hopefully be able to help cut down on the innumerable amount of penalties that our special teams had. I can recall at least 2 touchdowns or very long returns or whatever that were called back because of stupid holding or block in the back penalties. It should help, and I'm really excited. And now, that's pretty much it. They made a few other moves. They signed a strength and conditioning coach. Hopefully he'll help, the guys get stronger. That'd be nice. Maybe not be so undersized on defense. I don't expect much to come of that, however. And now, special preview of this Super Bowl this weekend between the Indianapolis Colts and the New Orleans Saints. Now, let me preface this by saying I have no emotional feel one way or the other. Both teams, I can find myself rooting for both teams. They have guys I like, they have guys I don't like. So really, I don't care who wins. I just want a good game. But I don't think that's going to happen. What people need to realize is that the New Orleans Saints were handed the victory last week against the Vikings, the other week against the Vikings on a silver platter. They did not beat the Vikings. They won the game, but they were beaten down by the Vikings. Physically and statistically, the Vikings had everything except for the win. On the other side, the Colts, they fought to beat the Jets. It was a hard-earned battle. I mean, they were getting smacked around in the second half. Nothing was bouncing their way, and they finally broke through on their own accord. And you see, the Saints, if the Vikings don't fumble 6 times and throw two interceptions, and of those 6 fumbles, 3 were recovered, if those turnovers don't happen, the Saints don't win that game at all. They would get crushed. Now, you can say, well, yeah, will they force it? No. The fumbles were not particularly great strips by the Saints. I've gone back and I've watched both games, and I know this. They were not great strips by the Saints. And the ones that they didn't lose, the Vikings were, still set in very long situations, down and long situations. That's not going to happen when the Saints play the Colts. The Colts don't play sloppy football. This is Peyton Manning. He's not going to be throwing dumb interceptions. The Saints secondary relies on quarterbacks to make mistakes. Now, obviously, anyone could say that, but, I mean, they genuinely rely on it. They don't come out of nowhere and make incredible interceptions like you see other teams do. They rely on the ball to be thrown straight to them. Peyton Manning is not going to do that. I don't see it happening. I think the Colts are going to really just roll over the Saints because I think the Colts are that good. The Colts should be undefeated. I mean, they really should be going for 19-0 right now. I understand why they benched their starters. Didn't agree with it, but, that's for another thing. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I want a really good game. Commercials should be funny, though. So, anyway, I'm Brennan Dickerson for BirdsFan.com. Enjoy the Super Bowl, my friends, and let's bring on the offseason. See you guys.